But anyway, yeah, if everybody's ready to go, we'll go ahead and jump in. Welcome back, everyone, to the Epics of Irindal, our little homebrew world on the continent of Irindal. Last time, our party had departed from the city of Tafar, the northernmost, largest city in the Jamila dynasty along the Jamila River on the eastern edge of the continent, accompanied by a strange sentient automaton that you now know by the name of Billet, a warforged by some, also known as an awokened warforged, a sentient automaton by a number of different descriptors. Uh, Unlike some of the modern um, creatures or modern created creatures that don't have the same level of autonomy and sentience that you see now more often than not. These are ancient creations by whom, where, how the technology is lost. But a lot of these individuals have an innate desire to learn their origin, not unlike your new companion that accompanies you out into the Almatar mesas on the far eastern edge, going towards the Sea of Tusk, as you all are looking for a tribe of Aarakocra, flying bird humanoids that perhaps have information that you seek, as well as an individual that you seek out, the former leader of the Silver Talons and direct companion to the late prince of the Jamila dynasty, um, one a bronze dragonborn by the name of Gamil Gesh. You've been tasked with finding now for several days, going on a week now, as you all descend into the eastern deserts and the mesas that stretch up high into the skyline of the eastern edge of the continent. Uh, as you travel, having gathered some supplies on your way out, um, gathering some much needed food and water for the trip, but also some materials, as some of you are uh, intending to create in your downtime along this trip a several day journey by Billet's estimates. And as you descend deeper and deeper into the mesas and the deserts, you come across a number of natural occurrences, a sandstorm in the area that you manage to overcome and continue your path eastwards towards mesas, not quite sure of where you're looking for this tribe known as the Haman. Um, but on your third evening in the deserts, you are suddenly awoken by an attack of these demonic sort of infernal birds of prey out in the desert. A pair of rocks descend upon you all, causing quite the commotion in this scuffle. So much so that it attracts an even greater predator in this region. In fact, the apex predator of this region, a massive purple worm that descends upon you all. And with this in mind, you uh, make for larger rockfall at Billet's recommendation, as you flee to try to avoid the descent of this creature, likely meaning imminent demise if you were to encounter it directly. The Vrox easily swallowed by this massive worm, and just as you all are certain that you would have to engage with this creature, it is assaulted by a barrage of arrows from out of the darkness, um, poignantly doing a massive amount of damage to this creature. Um, After which it decides to find its next meal elsewhere. Not in any evil circumstance, but simply acting on instinct. Shortly after this, you all are surrounded, or find yourself surrounded by strange creatures that even those of you with the ability to see in the dark are unable to detect visually. A strange power, a magic, you're not certain, but as a torch is struck, you see a handful of these individuals, these darkly robed hunters with massive wings, bird-like features. These are perhaps the Aarakocra you are looking for. After some heated back and forth and an exchange of a few blows, what ultimately you notice draws their attention is when you, Floof, transform back from your temporary wild shape as a panther back into your normal Goliath form, attracting their attention in doing so. After which they blindfold you all, stating that they are taking you to speak with the Elder. After being blindfolded in the pitch black night, you are grabbed and carried up into the chilly desert air as you are flown in what direction you do not know. The cold desert air whipping by you in all directions for several, you're not quite sure, hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, you're not quite certain, as the fatigue begins to set in, unable to finish your long rest that was intended. But now you find yourself still flying just as you begin to feel the chill of the night air beginning to grasp you tighter and tighter. Suddenly, a gentle warmth stretches over, and even through the dark hood that you wear over your eyes, you can see a gentle horizon line beginning to form as you now realize you are heading east, or some eastwardly direction. As the sun is beginning to rise, you feel the gentle warmth stretch across yourselves as you feel yourselves moving in several directions, slowly beginning to descend as you feel that sort of loss of upward pull from the wings as you descend further down, the air not rushing quite as fast. And about 10, 20, 30 minutes later, you finally feel yourself descend down, touching down on your feet, your legs a bit weak, having not been used in some time, as you all kind of go to your knees, and you hear this banter back and forth between these bird-like creatures as your hoods remained pushed on. You still feel the clawed-like grasp of several hands. Floof, you feel the subtle, poignant tip of arrows at your back. In the exchange of words, before a bit of common slips from the mouth of the female Aarakocra that you spoke with earlier. You will remain stationary. Do you surrender your weapons willingly? You may not enter with them upon you. What do you all do?
I pat myself and advise I don't have any weapons.
We're still blindfolded, right?
Yes, you are all still blindfolded.
I'm pretty sure I chucked my spear out into space, so I got no weapons on me. I'll say no weapons.
Did you lose your spear?
I thought I did. I don't know if I picked it back up, but
I would assume you picked it back up.
I don't have my notes. I probably would have, right?
Yeah, I would assume you would have picked that up.
I willingly hand her the spear and say, don't need it anyway.
You feel the grasp of this clawed hand wrench it from your hands as it is pulled away from you in some unseen direction. The rest of you, do you surrender your weapons?
I remove my, I guess, quarter
Staves,
from
staves,
my
yeah.
person. And, yeah, I surrender them willingly.
You also feel the wrenching force of a claw take the weapons from you. You hear Billet's voice in some direction, perhaps a bit behind you all. All right. You take them. You can certainly have them. Ah! As he hands over the weapons, as far as you know, the one in particular, the boomstick, as he describes it. Trash, what about you?
I'll put everything, or like all my weapons in the bag of holding and just hand it over, or at least like drop it on my feet and just say some volatile chemicals in there, and I wouldn't advise jostling it around too much.
Of course. Depending on how the Elder sees you all, you may receive them back in time. For that. And you feel the pull of several claws if you all are down on your knees. They pull you up as you all are... you feel your blindfolds, the hooded blindfolds, wrenched back off of your heads. You're greeted by a soft morning light coming over. It's still rather dim in this canyon that you find yourself in. You're at the bottommost point of this ravine, standing in front of this wooded gate, this double-doored gate. What you assume is based on the position of the sun, is somewhere in the western half of this ravine. And as you look up, those of you with dark vision at least, you can just barely make out the fact that this ravine, all the way up the sides of these, this probably 50, 60, 70, possibly even places upwards of 100 feet tall portions of the mesas. There are various layers to this this village that is carved directly out of the rock on each side, not unlike the large stadium, that Colosseum that you all encountered. This entire city, these homes are all carved out, and then wooden homes established in between the rocky outcroppings in all along these walls, or hundreds of feet along this ravine wall between these two sandwiched portions of the mesas. And you find yourselves at the bottommost trough of this V-like shape of these mesas. Let me go ahead and pull this up for you all. I don't have a scenic photo, but you hear the name passed around for this particular location as this female Aarakocra, now that you see her, we'll pull up her visual here in just a moment. But you hear the name exchanged as she looks at you all. You don't understand it. I don't believe any of you speak Avian or any of the Aarakocra languages, but she looks at you all. If you don't understand, I believe the common tongue calls it the Verdant embrace. And you see as these wooden doors are opened by a pair of these leather armored hunters, wearing various light armors and things like that, not to obstruct their wingspans and their movement. Let me go ahead and pull that up for you all. Where you stand. You're in the bottom right-hand corner at that gate. You're welcome to drop your tokens in there, but even though there's a grid here, it's not really scaled at the moment. Yeah, your tokens are way too big.
We are large creatures.
We've come across tiny bird town.
Yeah. Long story short, it's not scaled at the moment. Let me go ahead and pull up their picture real quick. Now you can see, now that you have some light, your entire group, you see this leather-armored, more feminine, slender-figured Aarakocra carrying this large longbow and a quiver of arrows across her back, very much with this soft white plumage down the center of her body, while the majority of her feathers are of this soft sandy brown color, not unlike a sparrow, or a hawk, if you will, but large, blackish eyes with small brown pupils that like large apertures of a camera, looking at you all, observing everything that they possibly can to look at signs of any possible funny business. Come with me. I believe the elder is speaking right now, but they will need to know that you are here. They will decide your fate. And as they escort you into this lowest point, you see, just as you walk in the center of this valley, portion of the Verdant Embrace, you see a large pond-like lake that has a portion of it that's actually drilled down deeply into the deep into the earth, a well that is actually like slowly gushing up water from below. As during the day, you would imagine that this area, and you can kind of see, once you get further away from this open pool of water, it gets quite arid, not unlike the rest of the desert that you've traversed thus far. But this underground well of water seems to be the main source of life in this valley. And you see people already beginning to gather for the day. You can smell a fire beginning to be stoked off to your left as you enter. A number of these buildings around here, although looking like homes and things of that nature, are more so temporary storages and lodges for food and preparations. Some you see have more bodies guarding them. Perhaps you get the idea that perhaps maybe weapons or any type of munitions are stored there. Things of that nature. And you watch, actually, as one of the hunters carrying your weapons heads towards that building. It would be the one over here. Just off to the left-hand side of the pond and the well. You look all around now as the sun is beginning to crest on the opposite end, which you imagine is, on the eastern side of this double-sided V-shaped ravine and canyon. You see now, as the sun begins to crest and begins to just barely touch all of these walls of these two adjacent mesas, that you see just the scale of this village. The way it was discussed in a number of the cities and things like that, just the hearsay that you heard was that these individuals were small, nomadic peoples at best. There are probably hundreds, if not thousands, of people living in this, what they call the Verdant Embrace, far beyond what you would imagine was actually out here based on the hearsay you heard in Tafar, or let alone Callista, that viewed these individuals as nothing more than nomadic savages for the most part. But you see that this society is far more advanced than you could have imagined. And very well prepared. You see a number of individuals on the far end of this center portion at the lowest point, bringing back various catches. From the far ends, as you can now begin to smell in proximity, as the winds whip through this canyon, you get the faintest hint, Dazes, the scent of salty air, of oceanic air, whipping through this canyon. You are not far from ocean now, being able to get that scent coming through this canyon. As this is going on, what are you all doing, thinking?
Observing. The water that they're drawing up in the well is fresh water, correct?
Yes. Yeah, it is well water, deep from underground.
Yeah, I'm also just kind of taking in surroundings, getting smells and smelling the air cockerel, the water, the general area, just seeing what I pick up on and a note in my nose brain.
Like, this is definitely like a not very well researched or well known kind of, I guess, tribe. And, you know, even the extensive like reading that I've done wouldn't have covered the intricacies of kind of the society here. So I really am just trying to take like mental notes as best as I can, like things that I can share with Catherine later on, like all that.
Indeed.
Can I? Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, can I possibly observe specifically the buildings and maybe try to figure out, you know, a few of them that might be like, I don't know, like more important, like, you know, which ones are maybe, I don't know, library of sorts, or you know, housing, or, you know, anything of that nature, anything in particular, to like get a better layout of the
Sure.
area.
Go ahead and give me a perception check. With a 22, at this distance, you can definitely tell where that individual who took away your weapons was heading towards this building off to the left-hand side of the well. One of the larger storage buildings in this lower portion. You also see a number of the individuals bringing back catches of various fish, and you see even two aircalker carrying this large, probably 8-foot long shark sort of catch, a large creature in its own right. And the two of them have it strung up on this wooden dowel as they begin to prep it for curing. And you notice that this building over here, a lot of the reserves of the recent catches that you see are being transported here. And you see as they string them up on these hanging dowel rods, these wooden staves, if you will, very much reminiscent of means of curing fish for preservation. You also see that these buildings off to the right, and a separate building that is actually like recessed, or not building, but an entrance here into the rocky face of the right-hand side, or the south side of this canyon. You see several individuals, smaller children, some of the non-armored individuals are carrying pots, having either in carts or by hand if they're light enough, which you assume based on their direction and the travel path as you watch moving through this lower portion, is probably clay vessels full of fresh water. to put into storage. And your guide, this young female Aarakocra, looks at you all. My name is Zaisha. And she looks over at you, specifically Dazes, as you are kind of clocking all these buildings. They are collecting various resources. Water is very precious in this region. And if we were to leave it out for too long, it would simply pass into the air as it does. So we have to be quite careful in these periods of the month. Sometimes the well will run dry, and we must be prepared to store such necessities in those periods of time. You don't see any library of sorts or anything that looks like a location of study, but, you know, it very well could be among some of the upper portions of, if there is a library, could be among some of the upper portions in more of the residential-looking areas, much higher up in the canyon walls.
Okay. Do I recognize the species of shark that they were carrying?
Based on that perception check in your background, it looks a lot like a very large, like the equivalent to like a mako. On the larger end of a mako, not quite like a great white, but a large predatory, you know, shark that stays along the coast.
Cool.
That doesn't necessarily stays in the higher to middle portions of the waters, not necessarily going quite deep into the oceans as you've seen some of the larger creatures go. Which would make sense based on the fact that you see puncture wounds at this distance. Likely it was coming to the surface to feed on early morning, you know, krill and fish and things like that, and that's when one of these hunters managed to either spear it or shoot it with a bow.
Gotcha.
As likely a piercing weapon wouldn't go that deep into the water. As you all are escorted further into the village, you see a number of these individuals, similar garments to the ones that Zaisha wears. She seems to have very acute sense of presence as she walks through this village, and she greets a number of the individuals walking through. Some of the younger children recognize her immediately. And you kind of grasp, those of you with more insightful gaze would understand that she perhaps has a bit of higher standing amongst this community, this tribe, as a number of the those working in the preparatory area, fixing the various catches that some of these hunters have brought in the early morning, all give her a smile and a nod. You see the individuals stoking fires and basically preparing to work on some of the damaged or needed necessities made out of metals, or give her a nod as they walk by, and you reach the staircase that you see over here to the left-hand side of the ravine, and begin heading upwards. Beyond these wooden portions here that are very much man-made, now the stairs and several ledges are far more abstract, if you will. Some of the areas, the steps are not completely even, if existent at all. As you can see, a lot of these individuals have wings, so why maintain the need for steps in a lot of these areas? But you see your guide, Zaisha, is walking you up probably the path of least resistance, but it's not the easiest path in and of itself, as it's not really intended. These routes are really unnecessary for a lot of these Aarakocra outside of some of the younger individuals, and those are often those young children until they have gained the ability to fully fly on their own, or more than likely carried by their an older individual. I don't have visual representation for the next part, but, you know, so theater of the mind and all that. You all are heading upwards. It is much like a switchback, back and forth along these various levels, and it takes you some amount of time just because it is not a very direct path. Very much this is makeshift at best, as these stair landings and steps along the carved into the rock, if they're carved at all, are not just set stone, are very much there if needed, quote unquote. As I said before, the majority of the tribe can fly, so its need is minimal at best. But after a pretty lengthy 30-minute sort of walk, you find yourself probably 50, 60 feet along the left-hand side canyon wall, quite high up, to a segment that has a ceiling that extends up nearly 30 feet in these areas. And you see now more worked stone carved directly out of the rock face of the mesa wall. And you see various fires stoked in some of these clay and rock homes. And it is, despite the fact that it is still quite cool in this early morning hour, it is quite warm in this pocketed area, either by the means of fire or just the fact that this area sort of traps heat from the thermal, the underground thermal activity, as well as the ambient heat that settles on these rocky cliff faces. It seems like these homes have been made to sort of insulate during the cold desert nights, but also cool during the hottest portions of the day. As you can even feel now, it's kind of a stark contrast. You feel coolness in some areas, while as the sun begins to rise high in the sky, it is ever increasing at a rapid pace, the heat coming from the eastern portion of this valley. And you can see that a lot of these individuals are trying to garner as much of their energy now when the air is cool and calm, versus during the day when perhaps some of the desert winds are whipping through this canyon, and far more treacherous to fly at higher altitudes. But as you climb higher and higher and finally find yourself now increasingly winded, having not slept at all in the last 20 or so hours, you feel the fatigue beginning to set in, but you push on, feeling a bit of a mixture of excitement and reservation, but also a unique sort of wonder stepping into this area that is such stark contrast to the very metropolitan areas that you've been in thus far along your journey. You are halted outside by Zaisha as you reach a large structure carpeted by a leather skin of some sort of densely furred creature that drapes over the front entrance of this larger home in the center portion of this plateau level. And you hear soft voices speaking from within as Zaisha turns to you all. Please wait out here a moment. And she looks over. Another accompanying hunter stands behind you all, waiting for her response as she nods to them, and then slowly steps inside into the dimly lit space just beyond this curtain of sorts. As this is going on, what are you all doing?
Are they speaking in their avian language inside the hut?
With your passive perception, you hear a mixture of languages. You hear mostly from several individuals this avian tongue, this mixture of chirping and hard consonant-rich words. But you also hear a bit of common laden in amongst their tones as various things are exchanged. But you also hear, with your passive perception, does anybody speak Draconic?
Negative.
Dazes, are you proficient in history? I think, Trash, you are proficient in history, correct?
I believe I am proficient in history, yes.
You would
Yes,
recognize...
I am not.
Okay. You, Trash, would be the only one that recognizes it as Draconic, but you don't speak it. But you do recognize the language. And as bits and pieces of words are exchanged, you wait there for several minutes. And as you're waiting in just outside this home, you see a number of families beginning to come out, their morning activities, their chores taking place. You see a number of small children beginning to gather in the streets as they look at you all, having never seen any creatures or individuals quite like you in this region. Giving you wide-eyed stares from across the sort of alleys and streets between these taller, 2, sometimes 3-story stacks of carved-out homes that have these sort of switchback stairs and wooden and furred canopies at their entrances, just to catch any of sort of the driving rains that may push into the canyon walls. But you also see various families prepping meals and things of that nature. You see a wide variety of dried fish, dried meats caught along the coast of various animals. Not a lot of the desert fauna that you've seen thus far, but you also see a variety of dried herbs and things of that nature being utilized on these various cured meats to sort of season as well as flavor and provide a mixture of nutrition apart from the things that you've seen thus far. After about 10 or 15 minutes, you see the winged arm of Zaisha and just a quick poke of her head out as she waves you all to accompany her inside.
Alright.
I'll walk in. I'm salivating and I'm staring at that food.
Before she steps out of your way and back inside, she looks at you all. You will speak when spoken to. Be respectful. Your permission to remain and your safety may depend on your explanations henceforth. As she steps inside and pulls the bit of the fur away, inside you feel a warm hearth and you see this circular sort of common room. In the center, you see this hanging pot that is strung up by chains to the rocky roof portion of this structure. The roof itself is about 12, maybe 14 feet tall, and it has a funnel that is a mixture of sort of clay and masonry that not only runs up through this portion, but the upper segments of this sort of 3-story stacked structure. And you kind of look at it, and the more you look at it, you understand that this is sort of like a internal chimney, if you will, allowing for the heat to be exchanged throughout the entire structure. And the further you move away from it, it is quite chilly towards the outer portions of the wall, but it never gets uncomfortable. And towards the center, it is quite warm. Sitting around this sort of center portion of the room, you see various carpeted areas, various textiles spread around in furs, as well as nice looking pillows for seating. As you immediately get the wafting scent of a sort of soup or stew that boils in this hanging pot above a small fire that sits directly below this copper pot. And around this central fire are a number of individuals. You see several similarly garbed hunters, not unlike Zaisha or those that brought you here to this tribe. But you also see two distinctly unique individuals. Well, three distinctly unique individuals. The first, a dark, feathered, older Aarakocra man. A very distinct and stoic appearance. Very quiet, but very poignant in his seated posture as he listens to various speech or various dialogue from some of the individuals on the opposite side. And you imagine, based on this sort of interpretation, Dazes, you would imagine this is some sort of report as they sort of stand at attention to this individual as he remains seated across from this fire. You watch this go on for several minutes as you also observe another individual. This individual is Aarakocra, but she has a distinct sort of owl-like quality. Her head kind of moving back in this very strange but very attentive and very curious nature. And as you all walk in, you see the wide eyes of this individual, even wider than those of Zaisha, look at you all, and her head turns, her body remains where it's at. Her head turns almost 180 degrees to greet you all as she kind of gives a warm sort of childlike, wonderish smile, but she definitely has some age to her form. Definitely one of the oldest individuals in this home. Even older than the dark feathered raven-like Aarakocra that sits listening to some of the hunters. And last but not least, directly opposite you all, you see a leather armored individual. Approximately 6 to 6.5 feet tall, well built, though slender, but very well built, strong posture, very much the posture of a soldier. Their scales glistening off the light of the fire as they look to you all briefly, but look back to the individual, the dark feathered individual. But you feel with relative certainty that you have found the individual you are looking for as you stare at a bronze dragonborn directly across from where you enter. And
I'll nudge Dazes and kind of point like at him.
Yeah, my eyes widen.
just a moment here, and I will show you all what we've got going on here, because I've got a number of photos to share with y'all, so give me just a sec. I'll start with the black-feathered, raven-like individual. I think I did. Okay, cool. The first you see, listening on, his tone, never speaking, but listening carefully to everything that is said. Basically, as you enter, he would be on the left-hand side of you of this circular room, approximately at 9 o'clock if this were a clock face. And about, I would say, about 7 or 8 o'clock in the circular room is this next individual, the owl-like Aarakocra, kind of leaning up on their staff now as they observed you all, but then divert their attention back to what is being said. Last but not least, the Bronze Dragonborn. Did that last image come through for y'all?
Yes.
You see across extremely well built, very well defined muscle structure of this individual. Their scales sort of glistening off of the firelight from the opposite. They're sitting about 12 o'clock from where you entered at 6 o'clock. It takes a few more minutes as this conversation goes on before the two individuals speaking in this avian language give a nod and depart past you all. At this point, you hear Zaisha begin to speak in that same sort of avian language, at least for about 20 or 30 seconds before changing over to common. We found these individuals on the Western Front. They claim to be seeking our previous guest, Elder Oman. We seek your guidance and your counsel. What would you like to do? And she steps away off to about 4 or 5 o'clock to your right of you all. Now you get a full glimpse as the dark feathered raven-like Aarakocra looks at you all, eyeing you all down very carefully. You are quite the strange combination, especially in the present company.
Tell me the truth. Why are you here?
I'll point at Camille and say, think looking for him.
And you hear about a Gamil. It's hard to tell for you all as you're not kind of as familiar with Dragonborn physiology and aging, and you could probably tell like a much older Dragonborn, but it's hard to tell, you know, maybe a 20-year-old from like a 40-year-old Dragonborn. But this individual, based on their relationship, you're guessing is probably in their 30s or 40s, roughly in that age range. You're not quite certain, but well in their prime of their as he sort of turns seated cross-legged across from you all as he looks up. Oh, that is strange. I do not know these individuals.
I'll
Do you
say,
know who I am?
Dazes?
He's asking us.
Yes, he's looking to all of you. Do you
Okay.
know who I am?
I believe we have an idea, and I guess I don't remember specifically, but I'll give it a quick spiel of our knowledge about how he's, well, how he was a member of the royal family.
Yeah. I had it. I don't know why my notes are all scrambled, but what was the name of the original Dragonborn that we were tasked with finding, Camille? I'm just
Arathava.
Arathava. And just kind of mentioned her name and said, you know, admittedly our journey has taken us a lot further than I think we were all expecting to go, but the seeds of it started, you know, with Arathava.
Give me
And a
just a
desire
moment
to
here.
uncover the truth.
I'm gonna pull
And I'll
up.
go ahead and throw in a mention of well, you know what? Never mind. I won't mention that here now.
You are here on the behest of Arathava, my former lieutenant. Is she well?
She has her work cut out for her.
I could imagine.
Making do.
She was always certain and headstrong in her duties, sometimes to a fault. But she should know better than to chase after one who's been banished. Why would she... Even so, why would she... You mentioned creatures you encountered in the Iron Plateau.
Yes.
Describe to me these creatures.
They were like brains with limbs.
Yes. Just trying to remember what they were called.
Oh, mind devourers.
Oh yeah, you know.
Or intellect devourers.
There you go.
You saw these ancient menaces. You fought these creatures.
Yes.
That
They had
is...
infiltrated the ranks. They were members of Parathava's.
of the Talons.
Yes.
They had taken control of our men. Of, well, their men. Her soldiers. This is... disheartening news. Elder Gam. Elder Ullman.
Sorry, I keep getting in reverse. This is they're just above the table. The surname is it's kind of like the Eastern orientation where the surname comes before the individual's name.
Okay.
Gotcha.
But you get the well, I'll explain that in due time.
Elder Ullman. Does this not match the description I gave you
Does this not pique your interest? And you watch as he says this, a feathered claw is raised slowly up to stop his explanation.
It is concerning, but the issues of the dynasty do not yet creep into our peoples. At least not these issues. I am more concerned with your uncle's transgressions against my people and our sovereign lands. You and I discuss much about the mining of the stones. Mining of the stones in lands not of the dynasty. It is upsetting the balance of this place. Creatures are acting abnormally. We are seeing a rise in the Vash.
And as you hear this word, it doesn't immediately bring a... Well, in fact, Trash, go ahead and give me a history check.
Okay. I'm gonna use my shiny new dice that I got.
Let's go.
History check.
Mm-hmm.
That would be 16 total.
16. You don't necessarily know the word in its full context and its description, but you have seen the word before in some of your textbooks. It is of the avian language, and based on the context of where it is described in some of the textbooks that you've read, you have a relative certainty that it either means creature or monster or danger. Something to that effect.
Okay.
At this point, you hear a sort of inquisitive voice come from the owl, Aarakocra. More feminine voice, but an older feminine voice.
Now, Master Elder Allman, perhaps our new guests don't understand our dialect. Perhaps understanding is in order.
Of course. Vash means, in your tongue, abnormal is the best word. Aberrant. There are dangers of the desert. Numerous by its very nature. Vash are danger beyond danger. abnormal creatures seen perhaps once in a lifetime. But in recent years, they are becoming more commonplace. In recent years, the rise in these incursions by the dynasty into the desert. I do not wish to lay blame, but as one increases, so does the other. Where they harvest more of the stones, more of the creatures grow bold, stronger, dangerous. Their very blood, their essence, their water is contaminated. We have killed several over many years. And they have killed of our people as well. Do you know of these creatures? Have you all of our visitors seen of the Vash?
And he looks at you all.
Have we? I think we have.
Is if I'm picking up what he's putting down, my thoughts kind of turn to Floof's mom and was it another hog that we came across? If that's kind of what he's implying, these creatures that have been infused like in an unnatural way with like lunarium, is that kind of what he's referring to?
Go ahead. Well, I'll say with your general intelligence and your understanding of history, you can make an intelligence check if you would like, or you can rely on your passive intelligence. It's your choice. Depending on your role, you may get more information as you sort of mull this over in your mind.
Okay. And sorry, it would be
Just
general intelligence?
Yeah, just a straight intelligence roll.
Okay. That would be
So a d20 plus your intelligence modifier.
15.
15. As you begin to connect the dots, your knowledge of Floof and his purpose that he's shared with you all, the strange occurrences surrounding his mother, the manic boar that you all encounter just between Tierhelm and Mirstadt. The strange centipede-like bone collector that you encountered between Callista and Tafar. As well as the strange stone-like mimic that you all encountered when you first banded together as a group. Based on the description of what the Elder is discussing, you begin to piece together that all of these strange creatures, although dangerous in their own right, exhibit the signs that he's describing. This abnormal, aberrant, monstrous-like nature that extends beyond their normal instincts. It seems you've encountered potentially several of these aberrants, as he describes them. Vash.
Well, I guess we can go ahead and explain our various encounters.
Do you share this information with him?
How specific do y'all want to get?
I will leave out Floof's mom because that's not my information to share, but we'll describe the hog that we came across.
Okay. The spirit when we were on the ship, the shadow spirit, would that be as well?
Based on your recollection of the incident, being quite close to it, it doesn't really match. It seemed like the creature that you encountered on the ship was far more intent in its attack specifically towards you, Dazes.
Yeah.
It doesn't really fit the MO of some of the others that you've encountered that seem far more chaotic. The hog that seemed to be trying to bash its own skull in pain. The strange mimic creature acting with sentience to attract prey, using a small child as a lure. The reconstituting bone collector turn large abomination. And of course, the loving mother of Floof. All beyond or directly contrary to their base natures. Kind of different than the shadow creature that targeted you specifically.
I'll describe my mother's death as well. And then I'm going to say, Vosh, where is Vosh? And why you no tell me this before?
We know little of the Vash, other than they used to spring up once. On rare occasions, 10. Maybe once every 10 years, once in a lifetime. A rare creature such as this, acting outside its norm.
You watch as he turns and looks towards the female owl, Aarakocra. He sees Telis. She is Ayen Hakima, a wizened eye. She shares the knowledge of many generations. Perhaps Telis knows more of these creatures than my own experience, my own eyes can share. You kind of hear her begin to chuckle a little bit, a bit of just warmness and jovialness, kind of very counter to the stoic, statuesque like posture and sort of air around the elder.
Yes.
And you watch as she kind of thinks back and forth, as she kind of turns her head, very much like an owl curiously observing everyone in the room for any sort of response to anything she says or anything anyone else says about her or about this matter at hand. Very much an eccentric person and very, very hidden knowledge masked by sort of this strange nature, this what's the descriptor I'm looking for? Kind of whimsical and just pure curiosity is the air that you get of this individual as they kind of look at you all.
Yes. What do I remember? What do they remember? Yes. Many years. Many generations. Many eyes, many have seen the Vash. They act outside the norm, act outside their given constraints, outside of their given abilities. But all of them perish quickly, unable to sustain the poison in their blood. Their very life drained by the second as it twists them back and forth against their very nature. Yes. I have seen many in my time, in our time. We have seen many. But so many more in these years, so many more.
As she says this, how do you react, Floof? Hello?
Oh god, I'm sorry, I was muted. I'll say, what is source of Vash and how you kill?
You kill anything. You cut the head, you bleed it dry, you smash it, you crush it. You drain it of its very life. But not always as easy as it looks. Sometimes they regrow. The arms, tails, heads cut off completely. They sprout back up. Their very bones come back to life.
How kill for good?
Yes. A wonderful question. Yes, a great question. I would like to ponder this longer. I would like to know.
You get the understanding based on your passive insight. They legitimately just don't know, but they are curious. That's, you kind of asked the $1 million question there.
We have seen...
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, who knows how to kill for good?
Yes. This is the question. We ponder many times. We ponder over many years. past selves we ponder many times.
Past selves.
Yes, yes. Many, many eyes over many generations. Many before me. Many, many more. Many lives, much information, many thoughts, many emotions shared across millennia.
I'm gonna squint at him and say, "You talk funny."
Under whose perception, though? Yes, yes. Under yours? To tell us, I am just me. I am they, we are our.
I look at Dazes and Trash, like stunned by this crazy person.
A shrug.
Yep, big shrug. Just like,
I'm gonna look at Gurm and say, "We met before, remember?"
You're speaking to the elder?
Elder Alman Gem, yep.
Okay.
Or Gurm.
We have not met before.
Yeah, you turned me to Cub, remember? You look just like. I'm trying to.
Oh, you
I'm
mean
trying to
in
be
regards
playful
to
because he looks just like Nightingale with the beak, kind of, with the doctor mask. I'm playing a little bit. Because Dr. Nightingale had the. Oh, you got it.
I do not know who of you speak. I have not met many of your kind in our lands. I believe I would remember one of your size. Perhaps you have mistaken me for another.
I looked at Dazes and Trash again. Like, yeah, you had Hat before.
I don't think that was him.
Oh, never mind.
He takes a deep breath and now turns his attention back to Gamil.
It seems we have many irons in the fire this day. I am sorry that I cannot assist you further, young warrior, but I have other matters I must attend to. You are welcome here, of course, in your exile, as you have proven to be a asset to our tribe, a guest. As for you all,
He turns to look at you all.
those who do not offer to the tribe are removed.
I'll grab a handful of gold and hand it out to him.
Oh. I'm afraid chunks of metal do little for our people. We do not operate in such fashions. I mean, what do you offer that can better the whole of our people? Are you hunter? Are you crafter? Are you cook?
I am definitely a crafter and tinkerer of sorts. If there is the menders, weavers, some sort of artisan guild where I could lend my efforts, I would be happy to do so.
Very well. Perhaps you can lend your knowledge to our artisans. They are in need of a skilled set of hands.
At this moment, Zaisha kind of leans down to the elder, whispering something in their avian tongue. And at this point, you watch as she's saying this. He immediately turns and looks at you again, Floof.
You are of the natural world. You are a shape changer, are you not?
Yes. And even though I don't want to use like a spell or anything, but maybe a mild display of skill, I'll kind of turn into the jaguar again or panther again, and turn back, and then I'll say I watch, I heal, and I'll because I have some healing abilities, something will glow green on my hands or something, and I'll say I kill, and I'll kind of do like a show off of the primal savagery where I just kind of turn into a gruesome machine.
He raises his hand to halt you, but
That is quite a display, but I appreciate it. Our own Ayan Hekima is of the same stock.
and you look over as the owl kind of creature is watching you intently. With her eyes are super wide at this point, like just at least half of her face is just eyes right now. She's watching you through this whole process of you wild shaping and casting natural magics, and is just watching this all intently and silently.
They are of the natural magics, as you say. I'm sure you and her can exchange much knowledge. You and your blob friend may remain.
As he kind of turns to you, Trash. Not meaning disrespect, but not really having a word to describe. Not knowing the exchange. As you see
he's
this,
not wrong.
this pause in dialect before kind of looking for the right word in common, but not really grasping it and coming to the closest thing, which is slightly insulting, but not like, you can see there's not an intent to it. It's more so just like not knowing the right word. It's kind of not really having a way to describe what you are.
Okay. Like, there's nothing natural about me. It's alright. I'm used to it.
But you,
And he turns now to you, Dazes.
what do you offer?
I'm an adept at any activity concerning water. I noticed that you all had a fishing party that came in earlier. I could help with that, or anything related to, I suppose, the well of fresh water that you have in the middle of town, possibly.
Indeed. You owe your heritage to the seas, to the waters. This is beneficial. We have hunting parties that rotate morning, noon, and night. They could be they could benefit from your knowledge. If you were to aid these peoples, you may remain. Now, with that settled, you all must need rest. Taisha has told me of your ordeal in the desert. You fought off the rock and escaped the worm. No mere feat for an amateur. Oh, I forgot. He kind of looks at, between now and then, he looks at Billet. You are, yeah, I forgot he was there too. You are also a strange one, little metal man.
Oh yeah, we're I get that a lot. I'm also good with the crafting and the shooting. I can fill either role if you like. But and he raises his hand.
Fair enough. Your weapons will remain in storage for now, until we can trust that you have no ill will to our people. In due time, when the trust has been earned, we will return them to you.
Yeah, that there works. I guess.
For now, I recommend you get some rest. You are wounded. If you need additional healing beyond simple time and food and water, seek out Zaisha. She will see to it that you are given what is necessary. But tomorrow morning you will accompany our peoples, and perhaps from there we can talk further. I have other engagements for today.
You watch now as this is beginning to wrap up, but you kind of see this frustration in Gamil's face.
Now, of course, what we discussed about the possible reemergence of a lithid presence in Master Gish, you are also a guest with our people. But I cannot further anger and draw animosity by pursuing this further. We will talk no more. Unless you can diminish the incursions of your ruling figures, I can do no further to assist in this potential danger.
And you all can kind of see there's a tinge of frustration, as it's like somebody's clearly has seen issue with something and they cannot get another to acknowledge it. That feeling of helplessness you see on his face, that he just kind of bites his tongue for now and nods his head. But definitely not giving up on the matter, but sensing the lack of immediate concern.
Very well. For now, I recommend that you all take your rest. And we will speak further on the matters tomorrow.
And Floof, you watch as Tellus is watching you just intently this whole time. Just every time you like move or turn, you just see her head just kind of following you, like just fixated on everything about you at this point.
I'm gonna walk back and forth a couple times so that I'm sure she's staring at me.
Oh, she's not even trying to hide it. She is just watching you the whole time, just like as if like a laser pointer is fixed on you.
I'm gonna hold her stare and walk up to about a foot away from her.
As you grow closer, she now kind of sees this as an invitation to begin. You watch as her neck kind of like cranes out and stretches and turns in these just angles that no normal humanoid would be able to, but in this sort of owl-like structure, her head just turns as she kind of darts up and down, looking you over, just examining you from top to bottom, just with no sort of care for personal space. As she's just inquisitive to the nth degree.
I'll wave my hands in her face, like.
As you do that, she pulls up her claws and softly grabs your hands.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Oh, yes. Interesting bone structure. Yes, yes, interesting. It is rejoined as normal. It is no longer feline in its composition. Yes, I have not seen this before. I have not seen one like you before. My ancestors, yes, yes, they see. Yes, we have seen in the past, but yes, you, this one, I have not seen.
I'm gonna mimic her behavior, but do it very badly with Floof and describe random things on her. Stick, feather, big eye, beak, ugly clothes.
Go ahead and give me a performance check. As you attempt to mimic. She kind of looks at you as you're saying this.
You missed the most important features. Yes, yes. You miss much. You have big frame, big head, big eyes. But this,
and she kind of puts her claws up just gently to the edge of your head.
Yes, this it's like an unripe gourd. It is empty. Yes. We will have to fill it.
Feeling made fun of and a fool, I will storm out of the room in a comedically grumpy fashion.
You watch now as the sort of general meeting and the vibe is tense and unfinished for all parties involved. As you kind of sense that the elder has, even though they have unresolved questions, they have other matters to attend to that hold the majority of their waking mind at the moment, as they are accompanied by a number of the hunters outside of the main structure of this building. And as you all exit, Zaisha accompanies you.
Please come this way.
We have accommodations
a few levels up that you may remain at for now. In the morning, we will escort you to your various assignments. And from there, we will discuss further what we need to.
As she begins to lead you all away from the elders, accommodations. It takes you again another 15 or 20 minutes of pretty intense. It'd be like a out of a 10, probably like a 7 or 8 hike up of a steep slope of a mountain in this area, but you are eventually there into a similar structure. This one only 2 levels, and inside the lower portion it is quite empty, but it is filled, and inside you see a number of things that catch your attention right away and give off the fact that this is also where Gamil is staying. As you see a pair of beautiful scimitars that are hung up against the wall, and a polishing stone and some other things, as he seemingly was prepping these weapons. And you see they are secured against the wall with a pair of chains and a lock. But you also see, some other personal items and a bag beside one of the cots, or I shouldn't say cot. It's more of a like a futon on the ground that is well appointed. It looks fairly plush, filled with likely molted feathers from Aarakocras and things like that, but dressed together with various animal skins, and there's several of them in this room around a central fire, not unlike the one that you just left.
For the time being, you may stay here until we find perhaps more permanent accommodations if you stay longer, but for now, make yourselves at home. I will arrive in the morning to escort you where needed, and we can discuss further.
And with that, she gives you all a nod. It's kind of strange that you would be beginning to rest now. It's, probably mid-morning, but you all have not slept in probably going on 24 hours at this point. So the fatigue is quite intense. You do see that Billet is accompanied with you all, but doesn't really take any of the various cots as he kind of sits down his things, this heavy pack of materials and things like that. Well, that was unexpected. I don't really need to sleep quite like you all, but at some point I do need to take a bit of downtime, but not necessarily the same as you fleshy folk. But I don't imagine that they're gonna try to stab us in our sleep. Otherwise, they probably would have just killed us back there in the rocks.
Yes, they certainly had ample opportunity.
That they did. But just curious, what did you all make of this place? I have my own questions. Eventually, I'd like to get to know the elder a bit. I did have some questions, and maybe that they're that weird one, the owl, like of Wantellis was her name. Yeah, she seemed to be leading on more than she knows, but she's a weird bird. Pardon the pun.
Hate stupid bird.
She seemed to be taking quite the fancy of you, didn't she?
I guess.
But Go ahead.
I'm not attracted to her though. She wants to mate with me.
Is that so?
It's obvious.
Perhaps.
you let her
I don't know.
gently.
You'll see.
As much as I'd like to know the logistics of that one, I should probably shut down for a bit of time as well. But I might, as long as we're not buttoned down here in this house, I might step out for a bit of a jaunt in the evening time. But you all look like you're about to pass out at any moment.
Oh yes, my rat form is more blobular than usual. Having a difficult time holding it together.
Well, before we take a long rest and or we can take the long rest and you all can abscond into the evening hours. It's your choice. But is there anything you'd like to do before you all settle down for a much needed rest?
In the room that we're in, do we have any like windows?
There's a handful of windows. They're small, more like portholes on a ship, just to allow for some ventilation. With various like fabric that's kind of inset in the stone on sort of thin strips of rod, like a wooden dowel that's kind of set into the stone with clay or anything like that. Kind of like a paper window just to allow ventilation and a little bit of light in. Or are you trying to like pass something through a window?
No, I'm just trying to look out of a window.
There is one on one side. You can see that it doesn't have that paper material. It's just kind of an opening to allow intake of air. Is there something specifically you're looking for?
I mean, not really. I'm just looking out, maybe if I can look more towards the center, just to see if the Aircock are like if they're like slowing down a bit in terms of like activity, like due to the heat coming like more towards noon, afternoon, or if they're still pretty busy.
They are busy in different areas from what you can see at this point in time and from the position that you're in. A lot of the activity that you saw early on when the sun was just beginning to rise has kind of died down in that area. But you see in some of the more covered, shaded areas that activity is still well and truly, busy. In the areas that you see on both sides of the canyon walls, in all these like residential, almost like districts, more so than separate areas of this space, you can see there are there's quite a bit going on, just kind of microcosms of what you saw in various areas in that lower portion, but more in a familial separate entities among the various separate, almost like little neighborhoods on each level as people prepare for the day, their various tasks that they need to complete. The people you see heading down are, just kind of flying down, gathering water as needed from the small well. The picture's kind of just kind of confusing. You can see now that a lot of that water has kind of either been collected up and taken, or has been already begun to evaporate in the heated environment at the bottom of this ravine.
Okay.
As the water level, you can see, has already begun to diminish substantially. In the actual like well portion, you can see there's like a mechanism that kind of shuts it down or limits its flow beside the actual well itself, this wooden top portion of it, to make sure that water isn't just immediately coming up from the underground and evaporating instantly.
I see. Okay. All right. Yeah, I just wanted to take a look outside. That's all.
Of course. Trash, Floof, is there anything else you would like to do?
even if I had access to my like kit and things to work on my boomstick, I don't think I'd be in the right kind of mental, physical capacity to work on it. So I think I need some rest. But I'll try my best to jot down a lot of this information because I know that I want to share it with Catherine ultimately. So kind of what I see, the social structure, kind of the elders and things like that without being too like it's academic in nature and not like I'm spying, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, just observing naturally.
For me, my stomach's gonna growl. I'm gonna let out a big ol' yawn. I'm gonna say hungry, sleepy, and then fall asleep and snore loudly.
You partake of a large portion of your rations for the evening, Floof, and you are able to get to sleep quite easily in this area. Probably the most comfortable bed you've had in the last few days. And given your fatigue, given the situation, borderline exhaustion, you are able to get to sleep quite quickly and soundly.
Excellent.
But if there's no further things you all want to accomplish for the day, you can go ahead and take a long rest and mechanically get back your spell slots, your features, everything associated with those. And for those watching at home that don't know, at the end of last session, everyone leveled up to level 6. So does everybody want to share what they picked up for level 6?
Yeah, not much crazy for me, just spell slot stuff, and then regardless of the terrain, my movement speed is not impacted because I forgot what it's called, but I could walk on anything.
Right, you're not impacted by difficult terrain or specific difficult terrains.
Yes, sir.
Very nice. Which spells did you pick up?
That's a great question. I got. I mean, what I have selected right now, I have still Call Lightning, Plant Growth, Moonbeam still. I didn't really change many of my things. I have Locate Object. Some things I find would be useful.
Of course. And Trash, or Dazes, do you want to share what you decided upon for your level up?
So I got my punches are magical now.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
Like that.
And I'm faster.
Nice.
Faster. When I'm not wearing armor or shield.
Right. Which,
And
given your wisdom dex combo, I wouldn't imagine why you would.
right. And yeah, I can frighten creatures within 30 feet of me that don't succeed on a wisdom saving throw.
Nice.
Sick.
Some cool monk shit. Trash, anything new? Did you decide what infusion you were going to pick up?
Yes. So, I got a new infusion, so I decided to replicate a magic item. So the item that I have replicated is a Cloak of Elvenkind.
Ooh.
So when I don the Cloak of Elvenkind, with the hood up, perception checks against me are at a disadvantage, and I have an advantage on stealth checks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sick.
Always a good item.
And there was something that, as I was going through the list that I didn't even realize I was not playing with this entire time. When we hit 5th level, because of my Battlesmith feat subclass, I can actually attack twice.
Oh, okay.
Let's
You
go.
are your steel
So-
defender.
Me.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
So
Nice.
five,
I
level
mean, you
6?
could be action surgeon. You ain't been doing that shit. Come on.
Well, it's not action surge. It's just
Not
extra
action surge,
attack.
I just get it.
Okay.
Yeah, action surge is a little bit different. That allows you to have a second action. So you, like a fighter at level 5, can actually attack 4 times in a turn. It's a little bit different, but you know, hey, more attack, more action economy is always good. More stuff you can do with your action is always good. All right. Well, given the fatigue of the last 24 hours, your trek through the desert, your encounter with the Vrox, and being chased through the open desert by a purple worm, you find yourselves in the closest thing to a cozy bed you've probably had in the last 3 days. And you are able to sleep soundly into the evening hours before you are awoken by the soft sounds around you of music playing from one of the adjacent homes. And you smell all around you the scent of cooking dinners and the sound of conversation as the hottest part of the day is beginning to wane and now getting into the cooler parts of the evening when some of these individuals are quite active. You notice that there's a different group of individuals now out through sort of the streets and alleyways between these levels on both sides of the canyon, on the various levels, as there seems to be a sort of rotation in this tribe, as some folks are more on a night shift, if you will, while others work during the day, and that seems to allow for the most utility of the tribe as a whole. And depending on the task at hand, that various individuals who are more suited and better at various tasks are switched out, if you will, and certain tasks are shared, or should I say shared, are limited to these particular hours when the sun is not as impactful. You can see down below Dazes, the well is opened up once more as individuals are gathering water for various vegetation and things that are cultivated for the tribe, as well as for washing garments if needed, or washing various meats and things of that nature for these storehouses before they're stored away and cured. At this time, you all hear a subtle knock at on the outside of the wooden hangar portion. It's not really a door, but sort of a frame that holds the sheeted opening of your abode. And you watch as a familiar feathered face pokes in as Aisha speaks to you all.
Hello. I've brought you all some food from one of the local families. They wanted to be hospitable, and they offered you some of the extra for the evening.
And you can smell it instantly. It is a heavily spiced bit of fish. Dazes, you would probably recognize it. It's sort of like a cured marlin fillet, and it's heavily seasoned, very, very herbaceous scent as it wafts into the room, and you see it's matched with a variety of desert greens and things of that nature. And she's also brought in a clay, like an earthen container that contains some fresh water for you all.
I'm gonna get real up close to that food and start smelling stuff and picking out things that seem good.
As she steps in fully into the room with you all, she looks on, kind of examining your demeanor as you begin to eat, and particularly curious about you, Floof.
It's strange to meet another one like Ormontelis. In fact, I've never met another like you.
Me?
One.
Not like her.
I mean no disrespect. It is a rare gift. Not many pursue the magics of the natural world or are in tune with it. Our people in particular are not born with this attunement, but maybe once a generation.
I'm born in nature.
Yes, I can tell. You have a natural gift.
Thank you.
You are welcome. I apologize for our initial concern, but our people are isolated, not as trusting as perhaps some of the cities you are familiar with. We have a particular way of life.
No need to apologize.
The elder, he is stern and he has much he must handle, but he has protected us for many years now, despite a very changing world. Things outside of his control, but he loves our people more than anything else. Perhaps if you show capability, he might be willing to assist you more. He is curious about the Vosh. Their increasing encounters. The last we encountered here, our people, it resulted in many casualties. I'm sure he wishes to know more, and perhaps learn a way to stop it in the future.
Well, it seems we have that as a common interest.
What do you all know of these stones? Your people, the rest of the peoples, they call it, what do they call it? The glowing blue stones found in the desert.
Lunarium?
Yes, that. What do you know of it?
Killed mother. I want to kill it.
It killed your family. How so?
I nod solemnly, and I'll describe the death and the mystery behind it, and the piece of leather and the lunarium. I'll also share the encounter with the Dr. Nightingale. And yeah.
Do you describe Dr. Nightingale to her?
Yes. I'll say looks like Oman Gurm, but with hat.
He is of our race. But he has no wings.
I say yes confidently.
This is strange. I have not heard of a being like this. And one that can use magics. None of our people can use these magics. We can use simple, natural magics. Our hunters are capable. They hide. Our greatest strength is our ability to hide amongst the shadows while we hunt. Even from those who would see through the darkness. We call it the umbral sight.
Like dark vision?
Yes
I guess
and
so.
no. Perhaps I should explain further.
And she proceeds to drop the shades that are kind of curled up in the various windows to cover the any of the light penetrating, and then she actually, give me a moment here. I don't know if they have that particular spell. Check here. I don't think they do. No. Oh, okay. Hold on. You watch as she covers up the light. Now the only light penetrating in the room that is keeping anything from being in utter darkness is the little bit of fire still kind of smoldering in the middle.
Do you mind?
As she proceeds to extinguish it.
Not at all.
She pulls her wing, and you feel this unnatural, intense gust snuff out the remaining smoldering light before most of the room is in pitch black. Floof, you see absolutely nothing. Those of you with dark vision, everything turns to the sort of grayscale that you're used to in total darkness. But as you look back towards her figure, you see nothing. And as she kind of steps through the room quietly, begins to speak again.
This is what I mean of the umbral sight. It is a gift we cultivate over many generations. To hide from those who would use what you describe as travelers have many described as what you call dark vision. To be able to hide even from this ability is a gift our hunters share, that we cultivate over many years.
Then you watch again as she pulls back the curtains and allows a little bit of the moonlight to descend in the room, and she takes one of the edges of her dagger and scratches and slowly begins to make a smoking, smoldering tip on one of the remaining scraps that's rather dried out before it begins to spark. And as she adds a bit of the collected brush and scraps of plant matter that was used to make the fire and stoke it again. And you can see her now that the light emitted from it, as well as the interjecting moonlight from one of the windows, has kind of been cast down upon her once more.
Very impressive.
Yes, our hunters are, from a young age, trained to cultivate this gift. To not only avoid detection by more dangerous creatures, but to allow us to better track and capture potential prey, as well as defend our lands when necessary. You, Floof, was it? You have the gift of shape change, to take on the form entirely of another creature. This is a gift that only one in a generation of our tribe is capable of. It is fascinating to see. I have only seen the Iron Hikima do it one time in my many years. They are the teacher of our tribe. I do not know of a better way to describe. They know our history, and they are able to recall for many years, even beyond their own lifetime.
Quick question maybe about the table. So obviously I'm a druid and I have the nature stuff and I have the ability to do the wild shapes and this and that, but is that something I actively taught myself, or is that like almost something that I just kind of was able to do?
I would say that would be a personal decision for your character.
Interesting.
In your case, I mean, it's up to you. I would say it's
Okay.
something that you, based on what you've shown thus far, something that you just innately learn to do over time. But that's something for you to decide where your abilities come from.
Okay, I guess with my with my mother, or being raised in the woods, I'm gonna go with something like my mother taught me how to do it. So I'm gonna propose to the lady, like I can try to teach you. You teach me to see better.
I truly appreciate it, but I simply don't have that sort of gift. It is something that I am simply not born with. My natural gifts lie elsewhere. Although I am attuned with this land, our lands, the deserts, the rocky mesas, the coastal edge of this world, I am not in tune with the natural fauna, unfortunately. Although I can sometimes speak their tongue, it is only in short bursts.
Did not know I was special.
At least among our people, you are of a very unique kind.
As far as you know, Floof, other than supposedly this Ulmontelis, that's the only other druid that you've ever met.
Okay. This is both in character and out of character realization that I'm a little special.
And you, little one, you are equally as fascinating.
She turns to you, Trash.
I've never seen a creature of your type before. I've seen many humans. I have seen creatures with 4 legs, multiple arms. I have seen elves. I have seen, in my time, many style of humanoid, but I have never seen one quite like you. That loosely takes on the form of another, but is so clear. See-through. I mean no offense.
It's alright. I am a product of a very unnatural, mechanical, and industrialized world, so I can imagine my form and many parts of me will be very different and maybe rare amongst these parts, so I take no offense.
Where do you hail from?
I am trying to figure that out for myself. If that is the best answer I could give you, I don't really recall. I am not from a classical family structure. I don't really know how I came to be. I can tell you that I come from a place far away from here called Tier Hell. It's a city.
Magnolia.
Or sorry, Magnolia. My bad.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
But sorry, that's where we started. My bad.
Right. The campaign started in Tier Helm, but your earliest memories are in Magnolia.
Fascinating. It is. I have heard of this place. The few of our hunters that have interacted with with peoples of the dynasty mostly. Those transgressing in our lands. Occasionally one will have ties to these individuals they call gods. Deities unseen. That when I was younger, I assumed they were some part of the natural world, but the more I learn, they are different. Terrifying. But yet people, they swear allegiance to them. They do whatever they ask. It is strange. But I try not to pass judgment on those I do not understand. So long as they do not wish to harm our people.
Then you are kinder than most that I've come across in my travels.
We simply wish to live our lives here in the desert. These are our lands. We will protect them. I will protect them until the day I become part of that land once more.
And lastly, she turns to you, Dazes.
You are of the sea. I smell the salt air all about you. I sense you have spent much time out in the open waters. Our people simply take what we need of the coast and nothing more, but you have spent much time where no land at all can be seen, am I correct?
Yes, the sea has, at this point, become more of a home to me than anywhere else.
Another strange land I know very little of. I would love to hear your stories in due time. I would also love to have another attempt at sparring with you in the future. You are a capable fighter.
I would be glad to grant both of those.
Perhaps tomorrow our hunting party is heading to the coast again. I believe you are anticipated to accompany us. But enough of my chatter. I simply wish to check on you all. I will leave you to your rest, and we will reconvene in the morning.
And she nods and leaves the remaining food and water for you all as she departs for the evening. But as she does so,
You are welcome to wander about, but I must ask that you remain at this level for the time being. If you should need anything in my absence, there is a older Aarakocra woman. She is I believe the term in your common tongue is midwife. She will see to your basic needs should anything arise. Her name is Tamil. She is simply across the street there. But I wish you all good rest,
I will see you in the morning. But with that, is there anything else you all would like to do, or explore, examine, or should we simply time skip to the morning?
I'm gonna smell myself and realize that I'm stinky, and I'm just gonna go outside and into the water in the middle to bathe.
Oh, here we go.
You mean the water on the lowest level? You guys are like 70 feet up in the air on one of the cavern walls. It would take you like...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not on that level.
I see.
But,
Then I will not go all the way down there.
Jump straight down.
Regardless,
Cannonball.
yeah, cannonball in.
you could certainly try. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah, I guess that was my big plan. Yeah, I got nothing. I'm ready for bed.
I mean, if you're searching for, something to clean yourself off with,
Yeah, I think some kind of just general cleaning. We've been in the deserts. We've been dragged across desert air for hours, and I want to get clean.
as Aisha is leaving, you ask this question about, bathing and she kind of nods to you.
Yes, discuss with Tamil. She will. Bathing in the traditional sense here is considered quite wasteful, but we do have other means of cleaning oneself. I don't quite know how you all accomplish this, but we traditionally use a mixture of preserved oils and herbs to remove unwanted scents.
Yes, please. I stink.
Of course.
And she leads you over to introduce you to a older-looking Aarakocra woman whose her feathers look a bit tattered and out of place in places, but she's wearing, thicker robes, a bit larger of a figure, a bit more of a... she gives off the air of like a mother hen, sort of, more stocky Aarakocra that, has kind of exchanged, a more comforting build for less of her youthful flight. But, you can see as you kind of are escorted into this space, there's a large number of younger Aarakocra children that are just all over the place in this area, that she is kind of looking after.
Tormil will see that you have necessary bathing oils. Tormil,
And she kind of turns to you. She has these big, yellowy, like soft yellow eyes, kind of doe-like eyes, and looks at you.
Oh, yes, yes. Come. You must hurry. The children are quite energetic at this hour. They are, at this age, they are so busy, so busy.
And as you're kind of stepping in, your large form, this slightly shorter ceiling, but as you're walking in, these children all immediately, their eyes dart to you, Floof, as you see probably about a dozen young Aarakocra children, probably ranging anywhere from like 1.5, 2 feet tall, upwards of like, maybe in their early teenage years, but as young as like 3 or 4.
Okay.
All of them. Go ahead.
This is like, is it like what's the setting like? Is it like a bathhouse type of thing, or?
No, it's a similar home to what you've seen thus far. Similar structure, but just larger, and you get the understanding as you kind of observe this now. There's not really a standard mother-father familial structure here, as you've kind of observed. It is, the children are raised by the tribe. In fact, you can't really tell where the mother, father, traditional, even the genetic, exchange is from with some of these children. They are of the tribe.
Okay.
And that the actual taking of surnames is, as you've observed, is more so a point of honor than it is a association of familial ties. Because you can definitely tell that Zaisha and the elder Ulman, even though they share a name, they are in no way related by blood. You just don't see any resemblance between the two of them.
Okay.
But by station, they are related in that regard.
Okay.
Like, of the families you've seen in some of the other cities and you've seen over your many lives, as you've seen families together and traveling together through the Aelenwalt, and then now through the various cities that you've visited directly, it is a far different experience in that regard that you've seen, the mother-father relationship, where you can definitely see that there is a tie genetically between the child and the parents. Whereas here, you don't really know who the parents are. They are just the children of the tribe.
Okay.
But nonetheless, she welcomingly gathers up a small clay pot that has a number of herbs, sort of like a dried collection, and she begins to grind them up quickly in this clay pot, and then slowly pours in this oil, and then begins to mix them with her long claws. Very quick, and has done this many times, as she makes it into this fine paste and oil that she hands to you in this bowl, alongside a very like a somewhat damp rag that she gives to you to sort of scrub yourself off with.
I don't know how this will work with more of the traditional flesh of your type, but we generally apply this to our feathers to keep them clean of debris and more aerodynamic.
I'll say thank you and take it. I'll do my best to make it work, even though I don't really know. I'm too embarrassed to, after being insulted yesterday as a idiot, even though I didn't maybe seem like it bothered me, it did. So yeah, but I'll try to figure it out and bathe myself.
Definitely from the conversation, although it hurt a little bit, you could tell that it wasn't intentional. It was just a notice of understanding.
Okay. That's fair.
It was like a mentor pointing out the inadequacies of a student.
Okay. But yeah, I'll do my bathing, and my childlike nature is gonna come out. And after I'm done, I'm gonna make a point to play with the kids. I'm gonna turn into like an alley cat and have them chase me around.
Okay. I'll go ahead and give you advantage since you're burning your wild shape. As go ahead and give me. Go ahead and give me a performance check with advantage as you attempt to entertain these young Aarakocra children.
Okay. The last one was a 0, so let's hope for better.
The 14, as you pounce around the room, kind of jumping from high point to high point, as some of the children, some of which have not yet developed the ability to fly, some of which have already begun to not necessarily fully, lift themselves, but have begun to establish the ability to glide if they've, gotten to a higher point, as they kind of chase you about. Definitely burning a lot of. You can tell that some of these children have just an abundance of energy. Like, these are the children that, the mother's trying to get them to go to bed, and they are just wired for sound at like 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And there is just no sign of them shutting down, just full-blown Energizer bunnies. Except there's like 10 of them.
Okay.
But nonetheless, you can see that this Tormil has had plenty of experience with this, and if any of them get out of line, she reaches back with like a foot or like a claw without even looking and just snatches them. And it's just like mother sense is on crack and is able to just, without much effort, just snatch them and just, immediately gives that, mother, like, don't fuck around look.
Okay.
Like, fuck around and find out look. And just immediately you see the older children just stop without, because they've seen what happens when they fuck around.
They find out.
Yeah. You can see that immediate, like, when they get a little too far beyond just, playful children stuff. But nonetheless, you can see after your, impromptu bath and then this nighttime playtime session with these children, she greatly appreciates that. And for that, I'm going to go ahead and give you a point of inspiration.
Let's go.
But yeah, with that, while that is going on, Dazes, Trash, is there anything else you would like to do? You've kind of watched now that Billet has, woken up a little bit, or at least come out of his stasis, if you will. And he is busy jotting down notes, specifically observing your Steel Defender, Trash, without any of his normal implements, is in the process of making even more notes while observing your Steel Defender.
Who is this? Is Billet?
This is Billet, yes.
Okay. Did we get our maybe not weapons, but like, do I have my access to my like tools and bag and stuff back, or?
I would imagine you still have your bag if it didn't look like it had any sort of weapons in it. I would imagine, unless they could see them, which they definitely would have if it was a very obvious weapon, then they would have taken it if you didn't surrender it voluntarily. But if it wasn't something that could be seen, i.e.
I mean, I kind of did. I gave away, I put my...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I kind of, earlier I described just like putting like a bunch of stuff in the bag of holding, and
Gotcha.
then just kind of
Gotcha. Yeah, then in that case, then you wouldn't have it on you.
Okay. Well, there's not much I can do. I suppose it's just kind of just enjoying watching Floof kind of see his more playful side and just further taking everything in, I guess. Because the thing that I would want to work on, I don't currently have access to.
Right. Are you accompanying Floof to the home with the children?
Yeah, I mean, I can. I don't think I'll just like keep it not at like a weird distance, but like I am there, but I'm not as involved as he is, but I am kind of accompanying him.
Yeah, you definitely observe as some of the children are, I would say most of the children are attracted to the bouncing, jovial nature of this feline that most of them have never seen a creature like this, and are just endlessly entertained by this. A few are more intent on you as they've kind of observed. One in particular, is just kind of constantly looking through your more like transparent, like exposed portions of your body, just looking through like as if they're looking through a piece of glass or like through water, and you can just see the like amazement on their face as they kind of stare through it.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer it. I'm not shy about any of this stuff, so.
You hear a few words, but it doesn't sound like these particular children speak common, at least not yet. You definitely hear that same avian language, but it's occasionally Tormil will speak up and ask the question for them as they ask her.
Oh, don't mind him. He's asking how you make yourself see-through. I apologize. He means no offense by it.
I'm not offended. I just am see-through. I don't have to make myself see-through.
She relays that in their language, and you see this excited chirping and what could pass as a smile as they kind of raise their hand up and begin kind of looking through portions of you again.
Yeah, I'll just to, because it's fun and we're what I perceive to be a relatively safe place. I can take something, some sort of, if they have like a coin or even like a rock on the ground, and I kind of put it through like one hand and then have it move through my blob body and come out the other hand, just for the kids. Just for fun.
Go ahead and give me either a sleight of hand or performance check, your choice.
I'll try. Let's see, I don't know which one I'm better at. I'll probably sleight of hand. Let me see. Sleight of hand. Yeah, I will do sleight of hand. So that is 15.
The 15, with relative ease, you watch, you force the stone from one end of you absorb it through one palm, and it travels through almost as if like a basketball rolling over a player's shoulders. You pass it through your upper body from one hand to the other, back and forth, and they are just elated watching this. And you also get a point of inspiration.
Oh, sweet.
Well done.
Dazes, is there anything you're doing while this is going on?
Why not? I'll join the fray too.
Okay.
Let's go. We're having
How will
fun.
you reach these kids?
How do I reach these kids? There's the title of the episode. How do I reach these kids? But yes, you watch as Floof in cat form has basically enraptured most of these children while Trash is performing this makeshift what were those toys that they had the little slider and it would make noise as you let it float from end to end of the tube.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I don't.
I don't know if they had a name or something like
Yeah.
sound tubes. I don't know what it's I would imagine it's something like that except without the sound, but it's just like this see-through sort of like transparent, or what's those sliding those little like sleeves that have like the gel in them and the little like sometimes like floating space scene in them. I'm trying to remember. I would imagine it's something like that.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But Dazes, what are you engaging with the children? Are you engaging with Tormil? What are you doing during this exchange?
Mostly making sure that Floof doesn't get into any trouble.
Okay.
Smart.
Always a good call.
Go ahead and give me either perception or go ahead and give me perception. 9. You almost don't catch it, but you're watching as Floof is kind of bouncing up onto one of the shelves, and just as he's trying to avoid one of the children that's kind of hovering towards him, you watch him barely tap the edge of a clay jar that's full of water, and it is just about to fall. Go ahead and give me a dexterity saving throw to see if you can catch it. It's going to be a little higher because of that last second, that lower perception.
How does inspiration work?
You just re-roll you just re-roll it as if it's like you have advantage. It's not advantage, but you just re-roll the d20 so you'd re-roll the dexterity save.
All right, I'll use mine now. So that hopefully that 11 is bigger.
Okay.
One bigger. Okay.
Thankfully, you needed a 12.
Oh, wow.
I'm not kidding. That was the you just barely fingertip grip this deal, and it almost like smashes your hand as it falls. You take 1 point of bludgeoning damage as it falls like right in the middle of your palm, and it stings a little bit. But you are able to catch it before it shatters on the ground. And you look over as at this point, Tormil finally looks at the children and goes and kind of claps her hands together.
All right, children, that's enough of that. We won't have anyone wasting water here. And as for our guest, I believe it's time they need to get to rest as well. They have morning responsibilities.
As she kind of looks to you all down, kind of giving you the motherly, it's time to go, as politely as possible.
We don't want any more vases falling from shelves.
No, especially not ones filled with water. In a desert.
Fair play.
But the children kind of look, disappointed but understanding as she scurries them up to their upstairs portion of this larger multi-roomed home, full of smaller futons, not unlike your own, filled with older molted feathers turned into these cots. But she does give you all a warm smile of appreciation, and urges you if you need anything further to not hesitate. but does appreciate the at least removing some of the children's energy for the evening. As you all return back to your temporary accommodations, ready for the following morning. It is an early start, even before the dawn has risen over the horizon, when you hear a soft knock on the wood frame as Aisha sticks her head in.
Come with me when you are ready. I'll be waiting at the stone steps below. We will assign you to your various positions for the day.
Very well.
And is there anything specific that you all need to do to prepare for the morning?
Not me. I just wake up and do shit.
You do smell in the morning, Floof. You smell prominently of like this oiled spice mixture, not unlike the scent that you've gotten from a number of the Aarakocra. It seems to be a very common praxis to sort of keep feathers from molting too quickly or getting damaged. That this oil is applied more so like less than like a traditional bath, but is used as a means of just keeping their feathers in a primed condition. But it does at least cover up the smell of the travels. You don't get that prominent BO that you were getting the previous day.
That's nice.
And for both yourself and your companions, I'm sure it's quite lovely by comparison.
Yep.
But it is, you feel a bit of the soreness, but you are at least energized by your more than a day's rest here. Able to recover from your traumatic ordeal with the purple worm and the Vrox. Your wounds all but healed, a few scratches here and there as, you know, trophies of your encounter from these creatures, but nothing too severe. As you are escorted back down to the base of the canyon, just as the line of light is spreading over the eastern horizon, you look as Aisha gives an eye to to Billet and you, Trash.
You are going to assist our smiths and our craftsmen. They have a variety of tools and implements that need to be repaired, as well as some of the weapons that need to be mended and or finalized for upcoming hunting parties.
Sounds good.
Our lead craftsman, Gormar, is waiting for you just in the southeastern portion, not far from the gates where you all entered. You will see him. He has a dark brown plumage, not a bit darker than my own, and a very sharpened gaze. You cannot mistake him. As for you, Floof, our Ayin Hikima has asked to speak with you directly. She wishes to exchange information with you, as well as learn of your abilities.
I will nod and say, sounds good.
We will drop you off back near the Elders' station before we leave. As for you, Dazes, you will accompany us to the coast. We will be hunting just along the waters.
I nod.
And with that, with your assignments given, Trash, you are pointed in the direction, basically the southeast here of the portion of the map. You find yourself there with a... it's not hard to tell, given the description from Zaisha, the blacksmith there, and then at the same time, Floof and Dazes, you are not unlike your trip here with the blindfolds, but now you are, Floof, you are grabbed by two of the Umbral Hunters just between the shoulder blades as you are lifted up high into the air. Dazes, another grabbing you in the same location, lifting you up from the ground. Floof, you are brought safely to the midway point of the northern portion of the plateaus, not far from the station of the Elder, but to a slightly smaller hut. Inside, you see a similar sort of structure, round structure, but unlike the Elder's hut, this place is in utter chaos. There are scrolls, markings, slab textures with written text all over the place. It is just a maze of information in probably 20 or 30 different languages, only a handful that you even recognize.
I will look at it very stupidly.
But you see amongst the various piles, as she's got one of these scrolls stretched from end to end as she examines it, but hears your footsteps as you approach, and you watch as her head turns 180 degrees and looks right at you. Very strange for anyone who's never seen an owl before, but those of you who have know what I'm talking about. Completely turns, even though the body remains where it's in that stationary position, but she turns with an eagerness.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, we have much to discuss, much to talk about, much to exchange, much to learn. Come, come, come.
And Dazes, you accompany about a dozen hunters, including Zaisha, as you are flown eastward towards the coast. And at this point, you can smell the waning night air blowing in the salt over the waters. And for the first time in many days, nearly over a week now, you see the expansive, glittering, glass-like texture of the ocean just over the horizon as you pass over the remaining mesas and the waning desert towards the soft, sandy beaches of the Sea of Tusk. With that, I think we will go ahead and wrap things up for this evening.
Okay.
Because I do have some plans, but I haven't fully finalized those yet. So I don't want to have to make up a whole bunch of stuff on the spot, because I want each of these to be unique. So I have some ideas, but I haven't fully fleshed those out yet, because I didn't know how far we would get tonight. So well, I think this is a good stopping point, right about 3 hours.